one.
Okay, it is Friday, February 25th, I believe. This is Senate Reapportionment Committee. And we are we're all also eating because this is our lunch hour. We have to go back to our committees as soon as we're done with this. So forgive us for eating in front of you, but here we are. So where are we, committee? I know that there was some work being done, and does anybody want to start their reports? Where would you like to go? Yes, Andy, Senator Perchlik.
Yeah, Senator Starr, Senator Pearson, and I did meet with Nick and tried to figure out some of the questions we were having around the Washington, Essex, Orleans, Lamoille, Caledonia, Orange interface. So we just dealt with that northeast corner of the state, but we could go over the different options that we came up with. That would be helpful. Sure,
that would be great. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So Nick, if you want to put it up, and well, I guess what we'll do is let you, Senator Perchlik, lead us through the options and explain them.
Okay.
So hi, everybody. Thank you, Madam Chair. Nick Atherton, Mapping Specialist with Alpha Legislative Council. Senator Perchlik, are we talking about the map that we were drawing up at around tomorrow or yesterday morning? Okay.
Yeah, was that yesterday? Yeah.
Not the one that you're drawing up tomorrow. We won't look at that today.
All right.
Like it was like a week ago, but the days are long.
Just wanted to be clear. I'm going to put this, I'm going to switch my screens here and put this live on the screen share.
Yeah, and you could put the top half of the state up so it'd be bigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you make
Certainly.
it
Looks
bigger.
pretty good.
Just need to make a few adjustments here. Sorry, folks. I know this is what we're dealing with when I'm switching back and forth between screens. I don't think I've ever explained. I have a vertical screen directly in front of me, which is great for statewide mapping, but no good for showing you folks on Zoom. Okay, so here we have the northern part of the state, and I will turn it over to the committee.
Thank you. Andy, do you want to walk us through these?
So I'm going to be looking at my screen over here and not at the camera. If that's okay. The Essex Orleans district up in the top, the purple we kept as a large two-member district. To get the numbers to work, you'll see we along the New Hampshire border went all the way down to Waterford, down into Walden, in between Hardwick and Danville, and then kept the two Franklin County towns that have traditionally been part of that district. And I think Craftsbury. So some of these are towns that are in the existing district, but have been different on different maps. You know, as you've seen over the days in the different maps, you can trade towns off. I think that one of the last maps we had Linden up in this district, which is a pretty big population town. So they had less of some of these small towns, but had Linden. So we put Linden back in the county of what it's in, so into the Caledonia County, and made up the difference with some of these other smaller towns. So that's I think, and what we did for the Essex Orleans district. I think the only thing we did that connected to Franklin, other than the Richmond Montgomery thing, is the Belvedere Waterville maybe had been in Lamoille district before, but here they're back in Franklin. And I think we went back and forth on whether Belvedere keeps to try to keep it in Lamoille.
It wouldn't matter.
Yeah, the numbers are good. So if you can head east a little bit, Nick, I'd say one of the bigger changes, or a change that we haven't seen on other maps that we found worked, is adding Hardwick to the Lamoille district. We thought it's not in the county, so it's going over the county line, but it does have a connection, the Route 15, Morrisville, Hardwick. Felt that there was a better connection with Hardwick, with Lamoille towns than with the Washington towns that are focused on the Montpelier-Barry area. However, we do put Stowe in Washington County. Otherwise, you just can't get the numbers to work, so to speak. Lamoille as a county has too many people, as we know. So you have to either change the members, like make it a 2-member district and expand it, or shed a town into another district to make the numbers fall within our kind of guidelines. So this has Stowe in Washington County. And there's been some other maps that have had Wolcott and Elmore in Washington County, but we kept those in Lamoille County, which we thought made sense. So we thought this was a creative way to deal with some of those questions about the interaction between Lamoille and Washington and Hardwick, that at least it was a new idea that we thought people should look at. So then if you go to kind of southern Washington.
Can I ask a question about the Lamoille, the Stowe issue?
Sure.
Did you play at all with taking Lamoille and Washington and making a 2-2s?
Yeah. No, we didn't. With the 3 of us when we met, Senator Pearson had that all 2-member district map, which you could do the ski district, town district where you got Stowe down the Mad River Valley. I had one time played with a district where you can take Barry and move that over to Orange or Caledonia, and then have the northern part of Washington County with Lamoille, and then just have a 2-member Washington district that's most of the valley and the other towns. We were trying to keep with just the county lines. We didn't take any bigger steps like that.
No, I just was curious. Thank you.
Hey, before you go further south, if you could look at those towns from Lamoille that were moved into Franklin, you move the map up north just a hair.
Yeah, those Belvedere and Waterville could go either way.
I mean, they have no relationship to Franklin County. There's a mountain range between them, and they just don't belong to Franklin County. There's no relationship with any of those towns with the center of Franklin County.
Yeah, and I think we had it. I think we had them in Lamoille County, because I don't think it puts those 900 people. It does increase the percentage.
Yeah. I was going to ask, sorry to jump in, but I was just going to ask Nick to remind us, if you bring them back into Lamoille, can you just show us what that would do?
I think if we brought one of them in, it was still under around 7%. But
I have heard an argument to either do both or neither, that they're both little towns, and there's a lot of that links them together. But this is the trick with these 1-member districts. It is a seemingly small change. Yeah, it puts Lamoille, if you bring them in, it puts Lamoille at 10%.
Whoa.
So it was, it's tough.
Yeah.
It said 5.42 though. What's
No, not if you take those 2 towns out.
if you look on the next, the table.
So examining the pending changes in this box, making that change would put Lamoille at positive 10.29% deviation, and Franklin County or Franklin District at negative 3.43% deviation. It's a total of 1,044 people in between those 2 towns that we're talking about.
And Franklin could absorb it, but Lamoille probably couldn't, right?
but didn't we hear earlier that if you have one district somewhere that's a little off just because of the makeup of the district, that it was somewhat allowable?
As long as, but you have to look at the highest top and the lowest low. And if one district is at 10.3, that means that no other district can be more than, say, 4 or
Right.
5 at the most.
You-
Madam
you-
Chair, hasn't our objective been to be below 15%?
I
So-
think so.
So at the moment, the map that Andy and has just presented, before we make any changes to it, I just want us to be aware of the deviations. The deviation was 14.86.
I mean, one option would be to, well, to bring them back and put Eden north, but into EO, but there's no good solutions. I mean, none of us wanted to do that. That's why you're looking at the map, but, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Hardwick is probably the most logical contender to go someplace else other than Lemoore, because it's not part of the county in the first place.
Mhm. It's,
Yeah,
is
but
it,
I agreed, but it is almost 3,000 people
Yeah.
and, you know, so it carries a lot of weight that sense.
yeah, the point's well taken, Senator Brock, and we did think about that. And you'll see if we move south a little bit. I think when we were working with these kind of whatever 4 counties, we kept going north and then south and trying to get these things to work. But we have Caledonia at 8%, which is higher than we had before. And so we're like, well, maybe that's okay, the 8%, because the total deviation is under 15%. And so because people are saying Linden should be in Caledonia, so we can't have Linden and Hardwick, which are both in Caledonia County. So that's just another example of the trade-offs.
so
Caledonia
this
got
is,
shorter.
is this a radical thought if you made Caledonia again a 2-member district and Orleans a 1? I mean, does that work at all number wise? I have no idea, and I don't know what the ramifications are at all.
You
Yeah.
could, I mean, you need another 20,000 people for Caledonia to be a 2-person district. So you're taking up more than just what's in the county. You'd have to start expanding into.
Oh, yeah, you'd have to take many of these. And I think that Linden and Burke, a lot of these towns down here, I think, relate to Caledonia County.
And then if Caledonia takes the county back, plus maybe some other towns in southern Essex, or let's say they go into Washington County, then what I found is then you have to pick up population for that Essex Orleans district. So you either have to go into Lamoille County or take more than 2 towns of Franklin County. I mean, unless we can figure out a way to get New Hampshire towns into the mix.
Look, we have enough trouble with Vermont towns. We don't need any New Hampshire.
Yeah, so that, I mean, as I'm sure you've all trying to play with this, it makes sense when you're looking at 4 or 5 towns or trying to get to a county line, but then you notice, and this is what happened to us the other day. We're like, oh, that looks great. But then we're like, oh, Caledonia is at 20% or something. And then we mess it around. So it's like the other maps we've worked on. It's the solution we came up with the 45 minutes that we were sitting there working on it at the time. But we're not saying, this is the best way to do it. It's
Well, the other issue you bump into is we have an empty seat in Caledonia County, whereas up in Essex Orleans, we don't have an empty seat at the present time. And we go right now all the way to Concord anyways, and have represented, which is way down on the Connecticut River there. And so, those other little towns, Kirby and Burke and those, you almost drive through, or you do drive through them many times to get to Concord if you're cutting down across. So
yeah.
And that would be a huge area for a
For one
single member
person.
district, even if you cut it back.
Yep.
Well, it's a long way from, say, Danville to Canaan. It's worse than what I have now, which, would even be more of a problem.
Right.
Could I just offer that one of the things that's becoming obvious the more I do this is very obvious is these single seat districts. It doesn't take much to throw them out of whack. But
Yeah,
you look at Stowe, you look at Linden, certainly St. Jay, those are big towns. Those are 4,000 or 5,000 people. And so the decisions around them are vital and have massive implications, as we're seeing here. If you put Linden North, you peel up another 4 or 5 towns in its place. So anyway, just it's not so casual to offer Linden North. It has big implications, and so this map, Caledonia is a big outlier up at 8, but the negatives are fairly minor, so it still keeps us under 15, and at least as a draft, I think it holds together. Not everybody's dream, but that's clearly not something we'll have. So.
And we did make some changes to Southern Caledonia County. If you go south a little bit, Nick, that are different than from other maps and of the current district. Basically stopping just over the Orange County line. Currently that district goes all the way to Bradford. Or does it even go to Fairleigh? It just goes to Bradford.
Mhm.
So if you
No,
go,
it's got Fairleigh now, currently.
goes all the way to Fairleigh. So go a little further south. Just go another town just to see that. So we stop at Topsom and Newberry for the Caledonia district to help with Orange's overpopulation for a 1-member district. We moved Orange to Washington, which has a connection with Berry Town. One of these things that people don't like, for as far as you can't get there from here kind of issue, is we added Braintree to Addison, which people in Braintree will tell you they can't get there from Braintree. So it's kind of like Huntington and Addison, or maybe like the Belvedere into Franklin, is like there isn't really any connection, and there's a mountain there, but on a map the numbers work, and then that's just the way it is with the map. So we're not saying it's not a problem, but we're saying it made the numbers work. And then you'll see at the top of Windsor, which is under, over 6%. We added Thetford to help, or no, that's the Rutlands. Windsor was down.
Windsor on your map is only minus 2.11.
Okay, yeah, because we added Thetford. I think it was
Because you added this huge population of Thetford, yeah.
Yeah, in Orange was over, because with a single member district, it's 1,500 people is 7%. So Thetford, just even though it's just one town and it's just like keeping with the county lines, you think it's okay, but it really sends it way out of whack. And there's a connection with Thetford in the Upper Valley that we thought was justifiable there. So that basically explains the things that we, as that little group of 3, did on this map. We didn't touch any of the Chittenden County or Grand Isle or Rutland, Wyndham, Bennington counties.
Will you go down farther on the map, Nick? I just have a question. If Windsor is now at minus 211, can we move Londonderry back into Bennington?
Well, we could, if this is okay with, I mean, the
I'm
Thetford
just
challenge
asking
is,
what it would do to the numbers.
yeah, it would be interesting to see what it would do to the numbers.
Because Londonderry,
Londonderry is right up in there.
Londonderry is
1,900 people.
1,919 people. So
Right.
it's 7%. Is that what you're saying, Andy? Every 1,500 people is 7%?
For a single member district.
Oh, for
For
single.
single. Yeah, so
Well, Nick can tell us that pretty quickly.
see what
Yeah.
that would happen to both Bennington and Windsor.
Yeah, it won't change Bennington, right? This is currently between Wyndham and Windsor, I think.
No.
If we added it to Bennington, it would change Bennington's numbers significantly.
Oh, I see. I misunderstood the chair. Okay.
The
So
chair,
the resulting would be that Bennington would be at negative 2.11% deviation. Windsor would be at negative 5.09%. So it's roughly a swap. We're talking, by the way, about 1,919 people. I guess we already knew that.
right, we knew that, but thanks.
So it doesn't move outside of the deviate. I mean, it
No, it helps.
within.
Bennington. Yeah. And Windsor
and-
actually then has room to, you're right. The challenge, just from a Thetford point of view, Thetford's very much an Orange County town, and it has the Thetford Academy, which is their school, their high school for a lot of that area. So
you're back up north,
Yep.
Allison?
oh, no, I was just talking about the implications of this lower map are affected by the decision in Thetford, which is great. I love Thetford, but its population is big enough. So, and it is the sort of educational seat for a large part of that Orange County district. And because it has one of the academies, it has Thetford Academy in it.
Can you go
So
north, Nick, a little bit just to show them
Yeah.
that.
Sorry. And the challenge is that a town this size has big impact on a single member district, as Andy already said, whereas the numbers work. I understand what Andy and Chris I get it, what Bobby and Andy have.
But if you put Thetford back in orange, what would it do to the deviation? Because it looks like it would put it at about 23,000.
Thetford back in on orange.
Yeah, let's see
Yeah,
what that
what would
do.
happen?
Okay.
23.4.
Oh, would it put it up to,
Well,
yeah,
let's see.
24?
That would leave orange at positive 18.72%, Windsor
No.
at negative 9.41%.
So can you move,
That-
like Williamstown up?
Into Washington?
Yeah.
Certainly. Let me just take a quick snapshot here so we can
But-
reverse things more
Sorry.
easily.
Nick, before you go any further, it would take Windsor to whatever number you just said, if we move Londonderry to Bennington, but if we keep Londonderry in Windsor and move Thetford back into Orange, it would be different. I just
Yeah,
want to
but
make.
it's orange
sends
that
a-
goes to 18.
Yeah. Windsor can handle any of those moves.
Yeah.
Orange goes to
Right.
18%.
Orange is the one that is so severely affected.
Right. Because
I don't understand the reluctance to put orange back in orange.
Yeah, I mean, there's other options there that,
Yeah, but Orange,
Well-
one of the reasons is Orange really skews to Barry. And Orange County had too many and Orange hasn't been in Orange County district for a while, like 20 years.
Well, I hear from people in Orange that want to be back in Orange County. But and you're only looking at 1,000 people there.
You can do it. You just have to pick another town to take out of Orange County, and then we can, just hear from those people instead. But
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to hear from everybody. Are we now looking at what?
No changes. Or what would be the requested change to
I thought you were gonna move Thetford.
Thetford? Okay.
well, yes.
So moving Thetford in.
Yeah, there,
Orange.
now we gotta look at, it. Okay, then you have over on, Washington is still low, I believe. Washington County, so couldn't you
No, it's
move?
at 2.75.
Plus,
So that leaves orange as the outlier at 9.77% positive.
Not a single member.
The total deviation would be up, 17.
If you moved Williamstown, I have no idea the relationship between Orange and Williamstown. If you moved Williamstown into Washington and Orange back into Orange,
That's the town that Mark lives in currently, not that, not that
Oh,
we're
okay.
doing
I
this
didn't know
for
that. Okay.
Cummins, but
Guess that's about like moving Cambridge out of Stowe. I mean, out of Lamoille.
Yeah.
it would be challenging. Could we just go back down, Nick, I'm just wanting to see what your impact is lower as if what we're doing to because that only works, the Thetford thing only works if, so Windsor's now minus 6.43 without Londonderry?
Without Londonderry. Or no, sorry, with Londonderry. It
Yeah,
includes.
okay. I was gonna say, okay, great. Yeah.
So how about if I suggest we move Thetford back out and move Orange in to Orange County?
I think that takes our numbers.
I guess the question would be, is Orange more related to Orange County than Thetford is?
No,
Well,
it definitely isn't. Thetford is much,
The-
much more.
But you've got numbers to deal with there. Thetford's twice as big.
Well,
Yeah, but
I mean, I guess I also, I mean, that's way too big, but oh, you haven't changed it, but it seems a little strange to me to just swap around the towns, like Orange is currently out, which is not ideal, but bringing it back in and punting somebody else out, I need I would want to hear a compelling reason why that makes sense. It's sort of, I'd feel that way about Huntington, where it's not ideal, but the fact is that's where they are today.
Yeah.
We've seen that up in the Franklin County, Orleans County line, same dynamic.
Mhm.
And we're gonna hear
Oh.
about this Braintree thing, I can assure you.
oh yeah, Braintree, you look at a road map and you can see the challenge with Braintree for every county except Orange.
I'll
But-
just point out again, the minority report did have both Stratford and Thetford in Windsor and Orange and Topsham in Orange. Now, the deviation was 7, but
No, and I know that I'm sorry, Brian, I just was thinking about this, you can't get there from here concept, and that is true in many, many cases.
Yeah,
Bennington,
definitely.
the Bennington, you can't get to Stamford from Bennington without going down to North Adams, Massachusetts. I mean,
wow.
it's,
Yeah.
you could, if you had a 4-wheel drive Jeep and it was the summertime, but normally to get to Stamford, you have to go down and back up. So the idea that, I understand the idea that you can't get there from here, but there are many towns where that's the case. So I just think we have to be really careful about, I mean, certainly you can get from Addison County to Braintree. You just have to go through Burlington or I don't know what, but anyway, I just point that out because that came up this morning when we were talking, when I was talking to Senator Sears. I mean, not that he wants to get rid of Stamford, but he was just pointing that out.
Yeah.
So down below, are we in pretty good shape for the bottom half?
Yeah, whatever we do up higher is going to make a difference on where we put Londonderry, but as it is right now, we're fine. If we can put Londonderry back in Bennington, or into Bennington, that would be great, but I think that it's okay the way it is. Wyndham and Bennington are
Madam
fine.
Chair.
Yeah. Randy?
I would just suggest that, we obviously probably are going to come to conclusions today. But if we have all these various maps and alternatives that we have drawn up thus far, we can look at them obviously over the break. But one of the things I would think that we should at some point go back and take a look at the map that Bobby, Brian, and I did which was the one, the precursor to this. Bobby is the common denominator because he was on both of the smaller groups, and that might be helpful. But I
Yep.
know that one of the things that we did when we did ours is we came up with a map that split no towns other than Burlington, one, and two, we had no deviations greater than 6%.
up on top. So if we could get
I
rid
think
of
it was
the bottom,
overall, it was.
It was the spread, I think, was around just a tad over 14.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was
I mean, your
6 and
your
7.
deviation was the same as, very similar to what has just been presented by Andy,
But here, though, I'm seeing deviations in individual counties here or districts that are over 9%.
No, the highest one was Caledonia at 8 something until you
Why don't you
all,
move the map up if you would, Nick? Maybe I misread something, but I thought that I saw
you're-
9. Yeah,
Orange.
orange,
Yeah, but
9.77%.
you guys just-
Caledonia 8.27.
you just changed the map. You
Oh,
just
it wasn't what
changed
you
the
did. It
map.
was the changes we just made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta
Okay.
control Clarkson, and then it'll be much easier.
Okay.
There are some, making a map that suits everybody is impossible. And there are some things, Chris, that are also impossible.
Yeah. Can
That's
Thanks
not
a lot,
nice,
you guys. What
We
a
love you,
lot of
Allison.
love. I'm getting so much love today.
Well, the map with 31
I
senators though, was
loved-
the one that really worked, wasn't it?
I loved on all of you on the floor. Hey,
Madam Chair, just
Yeah.
back to good old Londonderry for a second.
Yeah.
When I misheard you, it's because I thought you might have been suggesting we bring it back to Wyndham,
No,
and which has a less of a deviation. But if Thetford's in Windsor, that strikes me as possible. You were looking to reduce the Bennington deviation, or I guess any interest in that from you? I mean,
if Londonderry is at play, the most reasonable place for it to live is in Bennington.
right.
okay.
And
Okay.
bar that. And if Thetford stays in Windsor, you're absolutely right. We could bring the deviation down in Bennington by putting Londonderry in Bennington.
It goes down to about 2.11.
Well, if we then could give
Oh.
Rutland some town, we would have eliminated both of our low percentages, I think. So
Well-
that's worth just keeping in mind.
Okay.
So you want to move Londonderry back?
It,
So-
it depends on what we do
With
up
that-
north, because
Yeah,
I mean, Londonderry, in a perfect world, we would all be in our own counties, and Londonderry is in Wyndham County, but they relate more. A lot of their kids go to Burr Burton, and they go down over to Manchester. They don't drive down to Brattleboro or Bellows Falls for services. They go to Manchester. So
Yep.
that's their preference if they're in play.
Yep.
so I think somebody was asking Nick, if we just to play, if you took Londonderry, put it back in Bennington and put Thetford back in Windsor, I think that we're just wanting to see what that looks like in terms of deviations. Thetford. Yeah. Yeah, that is, I think, what I just heard.
So then
Chair
the
wanting
lowest
to see.
deviation here is Rutland.
Which isn't out of the realm of,
No, it isn't. I think Chris was suggesting maybe we could do something about Rutland, but
Well, the only thing there is Pittsfield, I guess.
yeah, the
And
Pittsfield.
what happens if you do that, Pittsfield?
if you put
gets
it back,
to 5.81, I think it was.
But it would put Windsor further down.
It puts
and would like
us further down, but
Oh,
it,
588.
So
it
it's
keeps us
still-
both under 6.
And that keeps our total deviation, even with an outlier in Caledonia of what was that, 8.7 plus 5.8?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's true.
Bobby's my numbers guy. What's that get us, Bobby?
14.
I wasn't really,
I can do it right
14,
now.
just about 14, a little
Yeah.
over 14.
That's easily defensible.
I didn't want to embarrass you, Chris, but I wasn't listening to you.
No, that happens.
Don't say that out loud.
We've spent the
Well-
whole morning together, so it happens.
You want to
So-
remember that you're being recorded here for ever and ever and ever.
So,
Well,
sorry, sorry, can I just have, what's the lowest deviation here? Is it Windsor or Rutland?
Currently, that
Windsor.
would be Windsor at
Windsor.
negative 5.88%.
5.88.
No,
Yeah, it's just about
Rutland's
there.
5.81.
So it's
Yeah, and-
so our total deviation is 14.15
Yeah.
with this map.
okay, let's move north to Caledonia and see if we could move the little town beside Newberry or something, or Newberry down to,
Yeah,
back down to,
that's Topsom.
is there any way of moving Newberry? And
Those guys are
Topsom
huge. They're all
somewhere?
big.
No, they're too big.
It only works if we can move them up to Essex Orleans.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
can you move
well-
Topsom to Essex Orleans? Did you say?
or
Andy?
go back.
We'll float them right up the river, right up the
Yeah.
Connecticut River.
Like all the population needs to move kind of northwest, so it's difficult down here where all the
You know, it would have been, this whole thing would have been a lot easier to do, I think, if we had, when Killington wanted to move to New Hampshire, we had allowed them to.
Well, we didn't vote to allow them to move if they could pick it up.
There was this is a little aside here, but there was a great, in the House, it didn't go over well in the Senate because it wasn't greased. And Kevin Mullen had a fit, but in the House, there was a resolution to do it on April Fool's Day, and it got sent, all these committee chairs, local government, economic development, all the chairs wanted the bill to come to them because they wanted to, it was really funny. I watched it.
So I know I sound like a broken record,
Sorry.
but I'm looking at the deviation in Orange and Washington. And if you move Orange into Orange County, you're going to help them with the -3. And Washington has a plus 2.75. So I think it's going to help them as well. I think it'll help overall. Let's see. Yeah, so Orange now is 1.71 and Washington's 1.12. So those are both better numbers.
What happens if you don't do that, but you instead do Topsham, which actually Caledonia is a bigger problem than correcting a Washington.
Correct.
Okay.
So put Orange, yeah, try that.
Oh, wow.
That's much
Ooh.
better.
That's
That's a
all
better-
right. That's
Wow.
This is a ridiculously low deviation everywhere.
How
So
did
that
this
means that
happen?
5.88 and 2.68 are our
No, we have
outside?
some others that are higher, but
5 and the 6.
Where?
well, Lamoille's at
Lamoille,
5.
5.4.
It has, Lamoille has what?
Lamoille is high. It's at
5.4.
5.42, I think.
But 588 is still the highest, right?
5.76, but still,
What
the
brings
point
us
is
Down
you
to
got-
11.
you got way
Brings us
better.
down to roughly 11. Or maybe a little above. I forgot about your Chittenden North District, which is 5.76. It's 11.8,
So-
it's 11.64.
Yeah,
Here's what
we
I'm gonna,
still- If we're gonna work up north now, we still have got to figure out where it says water bill. We
Yeah.
gotta move, if we can any way possible, we gotta move that back to Lamoille.
I
Water
agree.
bill and
Belvedere.
Belvedere. If there's any way we can do that, it would.
But what does that do to Franklin? Franklin needs, some-
No, I don't think they need it.
Not that
Not that
much because they're
essential.
2-seater, right?
But-
So you get,
Look, it puts Lamoille,
in,
oh,
yeah, it puts Lamoille way over now.
And
so now we
Well,
have to take something else out
gotta
of
take
Lamoille.
something out a little.
Hardwick.
Well,
Hardwick.
move,
where do you put it?
move, Wilcott up.
No, I
Wilcott's
think
in
No,
our
I'd say
district.
Hardwick because it's again the
Yeah.
outlier, and a lot, at least from what I'm told, a lot of times Hardwick looks to the south more than it does look to the
Right.
west.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
That's what I would switch Belvedere and Waterville and then out in and then Hardwick out.
Well, move Hardwick up with us and Kingdom, I guess.
or Hardwick down to Washington.
Yeah, Hardwick to Washington is what I would
I
lean
think
towards,
Hardwick
'cause
to Washington makes more sense. It
Yeah.
orients.
that's where the orientation seems to be.
Yeah.
I disagree. I don't think it does, but I mean, I think you can try it. It also creates Washington into this kind of Frankenstein where it has
Right.
towns from 4 different counties, which
Well,
Well, we can try
Yeah.
both. That's the nice thing about digital mapping.
What about putting, yeah, but still,
You're way over, Bobby, with them.
Trade
Woo.
one prop for another.
no, we
Hardwick
can't
and
do that.
Essex.
Yeah.
And let's see,
See, if you moved Hardwick,
Hardwick and
but-
Washington.
Yeah, hang on,
Oh,
buddy.
wow, see, it's a big town by any standard.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not bystander.
Oh, so Andy, just for your information, it doesn't make Washington County a Frankenstein. It makes Washington County a Frankenstein's monster because Frankenstein was not the monster.
yeah.
Right.
Frankenstein was the doctor.
Correcting the literary references. What if we put Hardwick back in Lamoille and put Eden, send Eden north?
Oh, that's a good thing to think about.
Where is
give
he?
you, if you really knew, I'd give you a headache, Allison.
Yeah, I think that I thought we had clear indications that Belleville and Eden needed to stay in Lamoille.
Yeah.
Well, I
Belvedere
mean,
and even, I think, do. It's in effect, they're small towns and they're really part of Lamoille close into the center,
Yeah.
whereas Hardwick is not.
all right, well, give me one more shot then. Put Eden back and pull Elmore. Elmore at least is the Route 12 sort of corridor, right, Andy? And I don't know what county it's in. I'm assuming it's Lamoille
Then
County. but-
Lamoille.
Elmore's Lamoille and its school is all intertwined up there.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean,
Yeah, I know.
I
I'm
did-
just saying, just saying.
Hardwick is the outlier.
yeah, but it's a whopper. That actually, I mean, it's not the best looking map, but the numbers are defensible here.
Yes. Oh, with Elmore? Yes.
So I do understand the whole thing about the school districts, but school districts just changed a couple years ago and they're likely to change again. And in Windham County, we have Wilmington and Whitingham who have a joint high school, Twin Valley High School. And yet Wilmington is in Bennington County Senate District and Whitingham is in Windham County District. So I think we have to be, I don't think that senatorial districts, while we should, if possible, pay attention to school districts, I don't think that it is
Yeah.
the most important thing.
No,
to pay
I
attention
agree.
to.
I think equity and county are more important.
I think
That
equity is
brings-
the most important thing that we need to pay
Yeah,
attention.
equity and county. I agree. The question I have now is our highest deviations are still Lamoille and still what Windsor, right?
5.88 is that?
Yeah.
So
The spread currently is negative 5.88 in Windsor County, Windsor District, all the way up to positive 6.16 in Lamoille.
It's still
That's still
easily
12.
That's
Yeah,
good.
that's
Still less than
that's
13.
12.04, which is still,
That's as close as we've been.
Yeah.
What
well, we were
about,
at 11 somehow briefly that I just calculated.
Could
What-
we, oh, sorry, go ahead, Bobby.
what about looking at the map that Randy talked about way up north? See if that, how that screws this map up if we use it, or if it could be changed a little bit to blend in part of his map along, or our map along with our map here.
You can always move Alberg back. That'll get Franklin up and Chittenden and Grand Isle down.
Yeah, I would suspect it's a big change, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it will tilt.
Oh,
I
it
think
would, it would
it'll
take,
Well, it
Topple.
won't tilt Franklin much, but it will tilt the other
It
way.
Yeah.
will tilt
Yeah.
the Grand Isle. I thought the Grand Isle worked though without Alberg and with Colchester in, but maybe I'm mistaken.
No, you're right. You can do that. In this map, we grabbed a bit of Colchester to balance.
Yeah.
That's why.
numbers
Yeah.
out.
That's why.
It's
Yeah, because it did work to move Alberg to Franklin, which is where it is now.
yeah. Yep.
And the rest of Grand Isle worked as a district.
Yeah.
And it was without having to split anything.
I mean,
right.
you can show, Nick could probably show us that if you put Alberg back in Franklin, take that little piece of Colchester out. I think,
It's
Yeah.
almost a swap. It's 2,000 people.
yeah.
So it wouldn't make any difference on Chittenden, I mean, on Grand Isle, but it would make a difference on whatever the Chittenden was that we plopped
Well, but
2,000 people
but it's
into.
still doable. See, it's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
I
you're
mean,
right.
so just in the interest of time.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, this is a shareable map.
Yeah, put it up.
Here's
and
my concern about this map, though, is, we had a map in which Essex was its own district as a single member district. And Essex, even despite the split between the town and the village, has an identity. These small towns, certainly like Fairfax, which is not really small with 5,000, will get subsumed if it's mixed in, because between Fairfax and Essex, there's no relationship. Zero.
So I'm going to make a suggestion that what we decided that we would do is by the end of today, we would try to have a couple options of maps that we wouldn't necessarily decide on one or another, but that we would have a couple options. And I believe that those two options could be this one and the one that Randy, you guys put together before, which had Essex as its own.
That one, yeah, that one's already up.
And
Yeah, that one's already
but
on.
it is already on, but that we could, I don't know if we're at this point yet, but as a committee say, these are our two, of all the maps we've got put up here, these are the two that we're the closest to.
Well, I think we could do that. I think the one thing we haven't
don't
talked
know.
about Chittenden yet at all today.
Right, that's true.
And I think that's important. This concept of the 3-member district in Chittenden, which this
Yeah.
advances, is something I think we should talk about.
Nick, I don't know if you had the chance. I've sent you a few spreadsheets, but I did try. We could probably do it here with Nick if people wanted. The Williston, Jericho, Bolton, Richmond single-seater that I think actually Senator Brock you'd suggested.
Mhm.
That actually does work pretty neatly. Now, Jericho and Underhill, do link, and so we're not honoring that, but still. So you could look at that. It means that South Burlington is quite dominant in that other what is remaining in Chittenden Southeast, but it does work in the numbers. And I'm be perfectly happy to put that out here.
Okay.
or Nick, you can quickly do it, I think, because it's just those 4 towns and.
Yeah, I
you
think
only
there's
have-
those 4 towns, but I think there's also the
Yeah.
issue of, where Winooski plays in all of this, and where does Winooski have an affinity with Shelburne and Charlotte? Or is there, do their voices potentially get lost in that shuffle?
Well-
in many ways, I just raised that issue as something to think about.
I think about this exact question a lot, and I don't know, frankly, how a town of 8,000 people in the middle of 2 towns that are themselves, Burlington, a 2-seat. Burlington, I just learned, has now 11 House seats. South Burlington has 5. So, and Essex has basically 5. So you have Essex could be its own Senate district. South Burlington could be its own. Burlington could be 2-seat Senate district, and then Little Winooski, that's 2/5 of a Senate seat.
Mhm.
Now I will say, and I remain committed to this group to continuing to play. The good thing is, basically, unless we mess with Fairfax, the towns at stake are not. We've kind of webbed out Chittenden, and so the way you divide it internally. I continue to try different options. As I promised, I have been playing with a map that divides Burlington. That's not simple, but I'm trying. There's no way that I've seen yet to do that and not also divide South Burlington, because South Burlington hugs Burlington. So you would be living with at least two cities getting divided. That's not the end of the world,
Yeah,
but it
that's
is
not good.
quickly has ramifications. So at any rate, just to update you there.
Isn't there something about a country divided, and sometimes works
That-
well to the advantage of the people with less voice?
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. And I want to see the map. I played with it on a spreadsheet based off of the new House districts, which are now being advanced. And so Nick, I'm not surprised, probably hasn't had the chance to deal with that yet, but I sent him to that.
I'm not finding it in my library, Senator Pearson, at the moment. I apologize, but I'd be happy to, when I locate it, I'd be happy to send it back to you so that you can distribute it or send it directly to the committee.
Well, so let me just quickly finish, Bobby. So for right now, if you can, I think yesterday I sent you two spreadsheets. So for right now, what would help us, I think, is to create a new single member district of Williston, Jericho, Bolton, and Richmond, single seat. And then that's out of that 3-seater that
Yep.
Senator Brock is pointing out. So divide that single and southern 2. So I don't think that'll be too onerous. Hopefully you could do that right now. And then the other stuff I'm going to continue to work on and look to Nick to show us.
Well, Bobby,
But my question is to Randy, why do you object to the 3-seater district in Chittenden? If that's what they want down there in Chittenden and it works, why fool with it?
Well,
Right.
I mean, I think there are a couple of reasons. One, we moved away from the 6-pack because of the argument that people have in a 1-member district have 1 senator and in a 6-member district have 6. Well, the same issue was raised about a 3-member district being, again, disproportional, that we have the legacy 3-member districts. But what I'm suggesting is that perhaps is not a direction to go for the future. The other direction is the way to go for the future, but we're obviously not ready to do that with things like all 2-member districts or all 1-member district. But to perpetuate an increased size district where you have this disproportionality, I don't think is the way we want to go for the future. So that's one. The second is we do know that whenever we have larger districts, we disproportionately disadvantage the smaller towns and smaller populations in those areas. And again, it's something I don't want to perpetuate.
Yeah, your last option was probably the most important.
I will say that we had this conversation, whatever year it was that we broke up the 6-pack, we did have the conversation about whether we should also eliminate 3-member districts and decided that that was more farther than we wanted to go at the time, but we did have that conversation. And we still are the only state in the country that has 3-member Senate districts.
Yep.
Madam Chair, it is
Yeah.
2 of 1.
Yep.
Oh, it's now 1 of 1.
Oh, Nick has a question, because
Yes,
we're almost,
Dick. Yep, Nick.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to, Senator Pearson, can you please repeat the towns that you wanted to see carved off, and I can show that
yeah,
district. real fast.
you were starting, and tantalizingly so, Jericho, Bolton, Richmond, Williston. I can't remember what we did St. George. They call it Chittenden East or something. And then Chittenden SE needs to become a 2-member.
Right. Because it drops to 45, right?
Or maybe we should leave it a 3-member at a deviation
Yeah.
of -30.
They'd have the best
Yeah,
representation. in the
that's pretty
state.
good. You can pull St. George into Chittenden East then.
Where is St. George? Oh, right.
It's really part of Williston, so it's proper to have it be in with Williston, I think.
How did a little place like that ever not become a Gore?
That's a good question. The only other thing I would ask is that you rename Chittenden SE to Chittenden S.
Yeah.
So there you have it, Senator Brock. It's not bad.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's,
It's not bad.
it's dominated by South Burlington, and the Chittenden East will be dominated by Williston. But what are you going to do? I mean,
Wyndham County's pretty much dominated by Brattleboro, and
Yeah.
Rutland County is probably pretty much dominated by Rutland and Brandon.
It is.
And so you do as much as you can. So what I'm going to suggest is that we put up this map. Is that
Yep.
Yeah,
we just put up everything and
this map and the one before, right?
yeah.
Well, I think we have all our maps are up pretty much, I think, at the moment by date, right, Nick?
No,
Yes.
they're not. No, they're not.
this one's not, so it should be.
Well, not this one yet, but this is today. And so it would go up today. And I think we can send senators to our page to look at our maps.
I agree.
I thought you were gonna give them to Jeanette.
Well, I think that we're not there.
I
I
don't
think
we're
that
there.
what we're gonna have to do is hope that when we come back, and I'm going to ask us if we can meet on Wednesday morning at 7:30, the same as we
Sure.
did. And I don't know if there's any possibility of meeting over town meeting break or not. I know that
Your schedule's the worst. The judicial nominating crowd has the biggest challenge.
we're tied up all day Thursday and Friday. And
Yeah.
Tuesday is probably out for a lot of people. So
Tuesday, town meeting, maybe in the afternoon we could meet.
well, some towns have their town meeting in the afternoon. So,
Really? I haven't seen one in my neck of the woods, but.
I mean,
I'm
they
happy.
go until afternoon. Ours goes
go-
until 4:30 or 5.
Well,
Yeah.
only when it's in person. Are you doing it all in person this year?
No,
North-
but I'm not going to go. There's no online.
We're not meeting on
Anyway,
town meeting day. That's
We're
ridiculous.
not. Yeah, no, we're not going to meet on town meeting.
So how about Wednesday at some point?
If we need to, I'm fine with that. I don't know
But
how
I
other
don't
people
think-
are. Both Randy and Brian are on vacation.
Right. And Nick is not available. He's probably on vacation too.
Right. We should.
I
Um,
actually haven't put in vacation time yet, so my schedule is yet flexible.
Yeah, Allison,
That's a
it isn't
dangerous
a
thing-
holiday.
that's a
It
dangerous
isn't
thing
a
to fill up.
holiday for state employees. It's just the legislature doesn't meet.
Right. But as we know, a lot of ledge council takes time off. So anyway.
Chris?
What would it be possible if we need to meet? Could we meet the Monday whatever that is, the 7th. Is there, I know that some people had a travel day there.
Yeah, I am traveling on the
I-
7th.
Hmm.
I could meet in the afternoon on Monday, the time that we had talked about before but we also have town, oh, right. Yeah, I could meet on the afternoon of the 7th.
Well, I think Randy and Brian are both traveling that day, so I don't think that,
Well, actually, I'll be home by then, but
okay. I think Randy's traveling.
I'm traveling.
yes.
I've got flights booked that afternoon.
Yeah.
I think we've got
I-
enough maps to show our
Yeah.
colleagues.
Yeah.
We're going to be back in
I
person.
think so too.
Yeah.
You know, there's no more mysteries to uncover. It's just where the
Right.
compromises lie, it seems to
Right.
me.
I think you're right. I think we should plan on posting this meeting Wednesday morning, the 9th at 7:30
Yep.
and continuing our work. And I am, Allison, I got your article and I'm incorporating some of it into an article and I'm writing. And one of the things that I am talking about so people understand is the deviation, because I think that people don't have a clue why we move things around. And
I didn't
so-
focus so much on the deviation, but I
Right.
did.
So anyway, I'm gonna finish that up today and send it to Carolyn and ask her to send it out to the papers, if that's okay. And then it tells people for a good history. So did you all realize this, that when the Senate was created in 1836, I think it was set up with 30 senators, right? And I've always wondered what happened to those 2 extra ones, because there's 14 counties. And the way it was set up was each county had 1, and
Right.
then the other 16 were split by population. So there's never been 2 per county. And so then anyway, it's never been that every county had 2. And so anyway, there's a really good historical perspective on this on the Secretary of State's page. And I'm putting that in for people if they have, want to see that. And then I'm putting in the where they can go to see all of our maps. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'd check that history though a little bit,
Why?
because we used to have 2 from Essex County, 2 from Orleans County, and I know 2 from Lamoille County.
I'm
Well,
just saying that it was never set up in the original Constitution when the Senate was created. It was not set up as 2 per county. Because if we had done that, there would have been 28 senators, not
Right.
30. They
Right.
set it up as 30, and every county had 1, and then the rest was divided by population. And at that point, those counties may have had enough population to have another senator.
Madam Chair,
I've
Yes.
got to go to.
it's
appropriation.
1:07 and.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I have to
I know.
get some lunch and
Yes.
you, have to- and I need you to look at your emails. The pro
Okay.
tem has asked me, because I know you don't text, to look at your email before we go into committee. So
Okay, yep.
have
Yep.
a missive from
Okay.
the pro tem.
Okay, so we'll see you Wednesday morning, the 9th at 7:30. Some of you we may see
Right.
before then. And
And
Randy and Brian have a great vacation.
Thank you, Mel.
Yeah.
Probably in person, right, is our expectation?
Seven-
That would be my expectation.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't work for people, we can figure that out, because that isn't one of the days that will be on the floor of the Senate. So people
Right,
may
right.
be zooming in.